News broke this week that a grand jury has been impaneled in the ongoing criminal investigation into Donald Trump, into his organization, into his children, into his chief financial officer, into basically everyone involved with the Trump organization at the highest levels. Grand jury is there. That is horrible news for Donald Trump. And of course, he's freaking out behind the scenes. But publicly, Donald Trump is already working on a slick PR campaign to convince his followers that this whole thing is just another witch hunt designed to prevent him from running for office again. In fact, after the news broke that the grand jury had been impaneled, Donald Trump issued a statement. Here's a part of it. It says, "Interesting that today a poll came out indicating I'm far in the lead for the Republican presidential primary." The same day that the grand jury was announced, he's like, "Oh, suddenly I'm in the lead in the polls, and now they're going to try to indict me." Actually, for the record, unfortunately for the Republican Party, Trump has literally been at the top of every single poll for 2024 primary candidates. So no, it's not just, oh, interesting, suddenly today. No, you've actually been at the top of those polls forever. And this investigation's been going on forever as well. A lot longer than those polls have been coming out, by the way, buddy. This isn't a witch hunt. This is an actual, real criminal investigation. But this is what we're going to see from Donald Trump in the coming months. Hell, this is what we're going to see from Donald Trump if he goes to prison on this. They'll send him reporters and he'll sit down in his little orange jumpsuit every now and then talking to them saying like, well, they just didn't want me to run for president again, so I'm rotting in a jail. Yeah, that's not what's happening here. That's not how any of this can even happen. What happened was that prosecutors found so much overwhelming evidence that they were able to get the approval to create the grand jury. And now the grand jury is going to see all the evidence. They're going to hear from the witnesses. They're going to watch videotapes of the depositions. And then they get to make the decision on whether or not you're going to be indicted. And of course, at that point, as we've discussed, we run into a whole nother host of legal problems where the Florida governor may decide not to extradite Donald Trump. So then, the courts have to get involved and it's going to be a whole hullabaloo and Donald Trump may have to be dragged out of somewhere kicking and screaming. We already know that police officers in South Florida have come up with plans on how they're going to show up at Mar-a-Lago and arrest him if the need arises. And given the fact that we got a grand jury this week, I'm going to go ahead and err on the side of the need is probably going to arise. Donald Trump is in bad shape. The only question will be, how effective is his little PR campaign going to be? Is he going to be able to convince enough people that this whole thing was just happening because they didn't want him to run for president again? Or will there come a time when Trump supporters, not all of them, but some of them, start to realize that they've been led down the wrong path by a false god? Some of them will come to that conclusion eventually. But even if none of them do, that actually doesn't even matter. Because the people who aren't going to buy it are the moderates, the independents, the people who are already so sick of Donald Trump that they couldn't fathom ever supporting that party again if they put him up as their nominee. So no matter what happens here, it doesn't end well for Trump. Even if he gets exonerated, even if there's no indictments, he is still so toxic for the Republican Party that he doesn't stand a chance if he runs again. So he's going to keep living in his delusion. He's going to keep trying to push his delusion onto the rest of us. But most people in this country understand the truth. Most people are living in reality. And they know that everything that's happening right now is because the evidence really looks like Donald Trump, possibly his kids, and possibly others, committed some pretty serious crimes up in New York.